this podcast, what we want to do is focus on the importance of national collective bargaining, and it's just one of the ways that we use to consult and engage with the local government workforce. In recent times, councils have played really quite a leading role at local level, consulting directly with their workforce. But I think that there are real benefits to them being part of a national collective bargaining framework where we can deal with some of the difficult issues like pay and conditions of employment. And that helps us get good relationships with national trade unions. Well, there are many benefits to national collective bargaining. There's economies of scale for one, there's consistency, which is the second one. A third one would be that we always deliver lower pay deals than the opted-out councils have done. And I think finally we provide a voice for the sector on workforce issues.
I think if you looked at national bargaining and local bargaining, which are really the alternatives we're talking about, not just simply in local government but elsewhere, if you looked at those parts of the economy that have moved from national bargaining to local bargaining, over a period of time, it's not really worked very effectively. National bargaining, I think, pays considerable dividends to the employers, to the employees, and to the people who pay their taxes at local level. It produces the right results in most cases, it provides a mature system, it provides an enormous amount of discipline, and it's cost effective. If you, I think, disrupt national bargaining, the chances are, at times of really strong pressures on finances, it will cost more. It will also, I think, cause considerable difficulties at local level. Trade unions are opportunistic. If they get an opportunity to find out that there's differences in pay at local level between one job that compares directly with another job in other local government organisations, they are bound to seek to exploit that. And the complication is, I think, if you have local bargaining, is that you have to duplicate in every local authority actual systems of management and systems of organisation and systems of dealing with human relations management arrangements. Much better to have it centralised, much better to have it codified, much better also to ensure that people understand the process. And my experience has been that where national bargaining has been broken down to local bargaining, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, it comes back to national bargaining. So my message would be, it works for employers, it works for employees, and it works for the taxpayer, and I would keep it.
I think people in local government can have the confidence to actually develop organisational change, knowing that they've got that very good basis of a national framework. And the fact that we've got that, I think, embedded, then gives people the confidence to be able to tackle those issues on a local basis. And organisational change is a big issue to tackle, and so having some solid base to do it on is a great bonus.
We worked together with the local union, the Fire Brigades Union in particular, to come up with an agreement between us on how we would take additional responsibility allowances together to the workforce. And that enabled us to embed it really quickly, really carefully without any industrial relations problems. And it's a really good example of collective bargaining working really well locally. The only real drawback, and the first drawback, is if both sides of a collective bargain don't play their part. The first answer to a question can't be no. It does need to be about discussion, consultation, negotiation. Make sure that you do some collective bargaining and not falling back on national conditions to say, no, we're not even going to talk about that because it's not in the national conditions. Collective bargaining can't be a blocker to change. It must be about collective bargaining and working together.
Firstly, it enables the council really to be much more efficient because national bargaining takes up a lot of research and a lot of time, and at a local level that means a huge amount of resource that needs to be ploughed in at that local level, researching things like retail price index, researching other pay rates, trying to get hold of databases as to what the current trends in pay are. So there's a lot of research material. There's an awful lot of negotiating to be put in place with trade unions and managers and members. So that's a clear advantage. to having it. It also enables national decisions to be implemented locally and quite quickly through collective bargaining structures, so that any changes nationally can be incorporated directly into local contracts of employment, which again is quite efficient. On the less efficient side, or the more controversial side possibly, is if the local authority is less than content with the national position, then it means they're bound by what's going on nationally, which can sometimes be a problem from the local perspective. So there are very much pros and cons with the national bargaining framework.
The private sector uses a range of different methods to communicate and involve its staff. It can range from staff surveys to team briefings to more formalised collective bargaining. But where it does recognise a trade union, it's absolutely essential that there are good working relationships, because we know these add value to both the business and to those employees. In today's very difficult economic climate, it's more essential than ever before that employers, whether they're in the public, the private or the third sector, really work effectively with their employees to involve them, to communicate with them about the difficult economic situation and how that's impacting on business. Just to give a few examples of what's been happening in the private sector. In Boots, for example, we've got Boots working very effectively with its trade union, Usdaw, in order to identify redeployment opportunities, to improve training, and that's been a very effective example of partnership working in their distribution side.
Central government really values the dialogue that it can have between trade unions, public and private employers and ministers right at the heart of government on the most pressing workforce issues of the day. These discussions include national collective bargaining and other ways of engaging with trade unions and public and private employers. One of the ways that we try to do this is by running something called the Public Services Forum, which is a body at national level established by the Prime Minister in 2003. The local government employers have been an active and vital partner on the Public Services Forum since its inception, and have really worked with us closely on delivering some real positive products and achievements in dialogue with these other partners.
All of our speakers have talked about the importance of effective engagement with our workforce. This is best achieved through a combination of direct engagement at local level, but importantly with developing a good relationship nationally with trade unions so that we can deal with some of the difficult issues around pay and conditions of employment. Over the last decade, national collective bargaining has delivered affordable pay settlements which compare favourably with those awarded to other public sector workers. We've had minimal industrial unrest, and we've also delivered a national framework on pay and conditions which allows for significant local variation, flexibility and interpretation. Our responsibility in LGE is to maintain the track record that we've developed around national collective bargaining and make sure that we remain focused on the priorities that are important to councils, and that's what we'll be doing. So what I would ask is that councils get involved whenever they can in talking to us about what their priorities are, what they want us to focus on at national level, so that we can deliver according to their agenda.